to the MKUltra show. I, of course, as always, am your host, Carter M. Nelson. Big show tonight. Very excited to be back with you today on Wednesday. It's going to be big. It's going to be great. Big stories tonight. Tonight is all about ice. Now, obviously, as I covered, I believe it was 2 days ago, there was a shooting in Maine involving ICE enforcement, along with somebody who may or may not have allegedly tried to run over our federal agents. And right before that, there was a shooting in Texas. Now, both of these are catching major backlash, as you would expect. Just like we've seen every other time, we've seen an ICE enforcement um, agent, protect their own life. We've seen major media backlash. So, unsurprisingly, it's happened again. And this time, it's seemingly having a bigger effect on the government itself, the governmental organization, DHS. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are. And it's unfortunate to see because what we all want to see and what we all supported Trump for a time was because we thought he was going to have these mass deportations. We thought this would be a problem he was going to be able to take care of. However, due to a level of incompetence, a media which is heavily pushing back on the ability of our government to actually, protect and serve, what we've ended up seeing is DHS slowing down, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. First, the media backlash led to the removal of Christy Nome, and now we have a DHS which is playing scared. And obviously, if we're going to see the achievement of the goal of, oh, I don't know, 1 million deportations a year, which still wouldn't be enough, we're going to need a stronger enforcement agency. We need an agency who's willing to go to any length to get these people out of our nation because of the harm they are causing our people. But that's not actually what we see. And because I already covered the shootings themselves, I'll give a brief overview over the course of tonight's show. But the bigger thing I want to talk about is how the media essentially uses its foundation and its voice to undermine our government agencies from carrying out their duties, and how the media can take something which is a good governmental agency and weaken it to the point where it's not capable just because of the major backlash. And the way they speak really encourages the people they're going after to not respect them. So that will be the major topic for tonight. Now, before I necessarily get into the story, I would like to ask you guys, please like, subscribe. It greatly helps out. Share the video with anybody you think may be interested. We're trying to build something great here, and I want you to be a part of it. So please do that. It really helps out. Thank you. But as I was saying, we're going to go ahead and get right into this. So, as I was previously stating, the DHS announced that they would be temporarily pausing unnecessary traffic stops. And the reason they felt the need to do this was there was a shooting in Texas of a man named Lorenzo Salgado Aruja. Yeah, those are the people we're fighting the hardest to defend. Yep. And that was in Houston on July 7th. And then in Maine, we saw Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero on July 13th get shot. Both of these incidents involving vehicles. So the DHS, to try to combat the negative press that was associated with those two instances, said they were going to cut back on traffic stops because what we've seen is that these traffic cases have proven to be the most lethal. I mean, let's look back on it. Renee Good, even. Like, she wasn't an immigrant, but you're in a car, a deadly vehicle. You feel the ability to run away. You feel more powerful than you actually are in this situation. And you also feel faceless in a way. So these people involving these vehicular incidents are seemingly more likely to become aggressive and have better capabilities to do so. And I don't think they even all necessarily realize how dangerous the car is. I mean, that is a lethal weapon if used properly. And that's something that a lot of people forget. Even the people reacting to these instances, like they freak out, oh, they were just trying to get away. Well, one, you can't just get away. And two, driving at somebody with a car isn't just trying to get away. That would kill them. And that's something people just don't seem to be able to comprehend because a car isn't as scary looking as a firearm is. So they see somebody get shot in a car and they're like, wow, they weren't even posing a threat. Well, when you think about it, everybody in a car is a threat, especially when they're driving at you. I'd like to see you remain calm and just let the person get away when somebody is charging at you in a massive vehicle which can easily crush you. Right? It's ridiculous to imagine that these ICE agents are just like ruthlessly killing. No, no, I mean they're getting drove at. If you don't want to get shot, don't try to run over a federal agent. Crazy idea. Crazy idea. A very, very easy way to not get shot is to not try to run over federal agents. Isn't that breaking news? Wow. Who could have ever thought of that? Who could have perceived that? I don't know. Now, I'm not saying I want these people shot, but I'm also not saying that I think they should necessarily remain a part of our society when they try to use their cars to kill people, right? I mean, maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe that's a just I a wild idea, right? Maybe that's just some wild thought. But yeah, I mean, if you don't want to get shot, simply don't try to run people over. But before I get too carried away, as I was saying, so those two shootings come out, and then the current DHS secretary and the acting ICE director, Mark Wayne Mullen and Dave Venturella, respectively, both approved on a temporary pause. So what this means is they essentially tell ICE agents, hey, we're no longer going to attempt to stop vehiculars or stop vehicles whenever they are trying to, get away. We're going to try to remove that from being a possibility by simply not stopping people in cars, which naturally becomes a massive problem with carrying out mass deportations because something that we've seen consistently and growing over Trump's presidency is illegals becoming harder and harder to catch. They're getting more aware. Because right now, the way that the laws work, ICE, they're going to need a legitimate warrant to come get you out of your house. They can't just, go through an investigative process and then go and detain you like they've been doing. They can't just go into the house. So if you also stop when they're in their cars, it becomes incredibly, incredibly difficult to catch these people. Because then what? ICE comes at you, and the answer is, well, get in my car, drive away, and go home. Then they can't do anything. So it doesn't really work to just do this temporary pause. But the goal of it is reducing the potential fatal encounters that ICE may have with individuals. It puts ICE agents at less risk, which means they are less likely to be forced into a position where they have to use lethal force. And this is something I was actually talking about on my show right after the main shooting happened. And I was saying, I totally take the side of ICE. I think what they're doing is good, and I don't blame them for shooting at someone trying to run them over. But the danger with stuff like this is the people won't react favorably towards it. People tend to make martyrs out of those who have died. They tend to see somebody who has passed away and say, "Wow, well that couldn't have been deserved in any way. Hey, what a great person that was." And they overlook all of the negatives carried with that individual. So, I mean, let's even look at Renee Good. Like, pretty clearly kind of a bitch. Tried to run somebody over. But after she gets shot, she was sparkling. She literally sparkled everywhere she went. But it's just an inaccurate description. Like, I'm sorry, I don't tend to think that people who try to kill other people necessarily are sparkly. We even saw it with George Floyd and what led up to the rioting of the summer of 2020. What happened? A guy gets killed, a black guy gets killed by an officer, allegedly killed, by the way. most of the evidence points towards. It wasn't the knee. You didn't hear it from me, but maybe or just maybe lethal amounts of fentanyl in somebody's system could potentially be the cause of their death. I know, crazy, insane, preposterous thought I'm having here. But yeah, the guy dies, and then everybody wants to make a hero out of him. Like they're putting up statues of him, drawing him on buildings, literally worshiping this man, burning down their cities over this man. But you actually look back at his life, it's like, well, he may or may not have shoved a gun into a pregnant woman's stomach. Like, tell me that's not a little bit messed up. Tell me that that guy maybe, just maybe, felt consequence to his own behavior. I know, like, don't resist police officers, and they won't use force. I know, crazy, insane ideas. I've been around, I've been around some great cops. I've been around some pretty annoying cops. But if you're just cooperative, they never do anything. Like, most of them are pretty good people who legitimately just want to serve. So maybe let's not try to kill them. Like, look, when a vehicle is driving at these guys, they have to make a decision. Do you go home to your family, or do they get to go home to their family? And guess what? They're going to choose themselves. They're not going to let you go and let you run them over so you can go and see your daughter again when they have a daughter at home who's waiting for them. It's kind of how you have to look at these things. They're not just out there because they want to use lethal force. Very, very few people have a legitimate desire to just randomly kill. No, most of these people are avoiding taking a shot until they have no other choice. So don't put them into a position where they have no other choice, and that will never happen. Oh, crazy. Who could have ever figured this out? I'm a genius, what can I say? But But yeah, as I was saying, the political response to these shootings is always going to be negative because of the media's way to heroize a dead figure, create a martyr out of them every single time. So every single time this happens, DHS looks worse and worse. And that results in the media covering them as poorly as possible. And the media covering them poorly naturally results in the people perceiving them poorly, which will in turn have more and more people attempt to obstruct when ICE is trying to carry out their jobs. Look at Renee Good. Look at Alex Preddy. People trying to obstruct ICE. It will also result in more people feeling willing to run because when the whole nation hates a group, they don't feel as great of a need to actually respect that group. And that inevitably leads to more fatal encounters. So it's just a twisted cycle of fatality, really. And that's what the media has been creating. That's what the media is building. It's the same thing they did again with George Floyd. They turned him into a martyr, and then all the people decided, oh, cops are all evil. They stop respecting cops, they start burning down cities. That's the danger of media here. And now this is also creating a bit of a mess between the top of DHS along with Trump. There's more and more friction that's bearing down on the two groups. So Mark Wayne Mullen, the DHS secretary, the guy who replaced Kristi Noem after she was removed from the position by Trump, is the guy who approved a temporary pause. Because a big part of him and a big part of the reason why he replaced Kristi Noem, which is important for the context of all this, Kristi Noem was very about publicizing everything. She wanted it all to be seen. She did a massive campaign on getting people to self-deport. So her whole thing was we are going to enforce and we are going to show everybody how we are enforcing to garner public support and, more importantly, respect from the people that we're trying to get so they are less likely to resist. And hopefully, they won't want to put themselves in that position so they'll leave on their own. Now, the issue with that was because of how poorly perceived ICE was, these campaigns ended up backfiring, and many of them were used to directly criticize ICE. They were used to oppose the purpose that they were created for. So Markwayne Mullen comes in, and his thing is we will be efficient and we're going to be quiet about it, right? That way the numbers can speak for themselves and we don't rely on the media backing it. We don't rely on the people seeing what we're doing and backing it because he saw how poorly perceived ICE became in the public eye. So what's the natural response to this? Get out of the public. So that's his thing. Do it by the books, do it by the numbers, stay out of the public light. So, when ICE becomes a major public controversy again over a couple of traffic stops gone wrong, he pauses it. Not because he wants to reduce the number of deportations, because his goal is still get the numbers. But his goal is stay out of the public and try to make the best out of the scenario. So, by announcing that they will temporarily pause traffic stops, it's saying, hey, look, ICE is willing to reform a little bit. Which is something that, like I said before, isn't good for the deportation numbers. In fact, it would be a disastrous decision. But politically, could it be necessary? One could argue that. Because ICE is going to be in a very, very rough spot and it's standing in the government once Democratic control over the presidency takes back over, which will very likely happen in 28 unless a major shift happens in the nation over the next 2 years, which you never know, but we will see on that. But then, so the next day after Markwayne Mullen announces that there will be a temporary pause, Trump comes out and he says, absolutely not, we're not doing that. There is no way. I had no idea about it, and we cannot follow through with this. And what is Trump's interest in doing that? Well, he can't continue to appear weak on immigration. His whole thing this entire time has been mass deportations. What got Trump voted in originally in 2016? Building the wall, getting the immigrants out. That was his. That was the basis of America First. Build the wall, get the immigrants out. And what has Trump failed to do? Well, he's failed to build the wall and he's failed to get the immigrants out. Doing all right on keeping them out, much better than previous presidencies, but he's not fulfilling the mass deportation promise. And that's where a lot of criticism on him from his base comes from, including all of his former supporters. The reason Trump has lost so much support from people who were previously MAGA is not because he went too far, it's because he wouldn't even go as far as he promised. Like, he wasn't far enough in his promises, and he failed to even live up to those. So, naturally, that would be why his base would fall apart. So, a temporary pause on the enforcement of immigration would, naturally make him look weak. Naturally cause him to fall apart, cause what he's fighting for to fall apart, which will only push his base farther away. So he cannot let this go through, which is going to create a rift between the DHS secretary and the president. There's a major disagreement in here in how we do things. The DHS secretary, again, Markwayne Mullen, is of the opinion that we have to draw back for a little bit so that we can come back and hit hard again while continuing to stay out of the public light to the best of our ability so that we can do our job without being constantly obstructed. While Trump needed it to be somewhat mediaized. Why? Because this was his campaign promise. So that's a major, major idea on the how that is creating a rift between the two. They both agree on what needs to be done. They completely disagree on how we are going to get there in the current state of things. So that's definitely not good for immigration in any way. Uh, for immigration enforcement in any way. When you have these two guys fighting, which don't be surprised if you see Markwayne Mullen get removed from his spot now, just like Kristi Noem did. Because him doing something like this behind Trump's back, and Trump being a guy with a decently big ego, it's a bad look for him. It's a really bad look for him. It says that the people who are directly working under him don't respect him. So him doing that behind his back, it's gonna be major. Don't be surprised if we see Marquayne Mullen get removed from his spot. He already did it to Christie, and a major reason he did it for to Christie was because she said Trump backed the unpopular thing she was doing, and Trump did not like that. Not like that at all. He wanted to get her out of the spotlight as soon as that was said. So I imagine there's a decent amount of tension between the two, and I would imagine there will be significant consequences for Mullen because of this. Which, it does make sense. When you work directly under somebody before a major thing like that is announced, you probably need to talk to him. But I think Mullen knew ahead of time that Trump would absolutely say no to that, but Mullen viewed it as necessary, so he put the order in anyways. So we will see how ICE, as the agency overall, responds to this, because due to Trump coming out and reversing the decision for the temporary pause right away, that is not now ICE doctrine. They won't follow the temporary pause, but in some groups it could continue to be followed. I don't be surprised if we see something like that. Don't be surprised at all. In other news, facing immigration, I know, and it's the whole thing today. It's funny how that works out. A Canadian woman decided to slap a teenager for wearing, I think it was like plump pants or like MAGA pants. I don't really know what that means, but she slapped a kid, and then she gets arrested, and they find out this woman is an illegal from Canada. Since when do we have illegals from Canada? That's new. But yeah, her name is Caitlin Tracy, a Canadian woman. Slaps a kid, gets arrested, is likely going to get deported. And the reason this is big news is what's blowing up is her background. And it's like, wow, these are some fucked up people we have coming in here. Because a bunch of videos of her husband have resurfaced after he freaked out online about it. And these videos resurfacing are showing him celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. They have like this image in their house that was visible in one of his recordings, and it says like 1,000 virgins for Satan. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? What are we even doing? Like, man, does it get much worse PR than that? We can't be sacrificing virgins to Satan anymore, guys. The people don't like that. They don't mess with that. It's a very, very bad look. So, yes, yeah. So essentially, hopefully she gets sent back. And honestly, her husband should too. I don't care if he's a legal here. I have no idea, to be honest, as if he is or isn't, but this guy just grosses me out. For that reason, I don't want him in our country. That's kind of where I am. That is essentially the place that I have come to. If you hate our nation, if you hate our people, just leave. Or we'll remove you. One of the two can happen. It's your choice, really. You pick. We move you or you leave. Because guess what? People like this are a cancer to our society. And you wonder why we are so strong on our immigration principles? Well, it's quite simply because these are the type of people that are coming over here. People who hate our country, who hate our people, who hate our freedom of speech, who hate our right to bear arms, who stomp on our flag and wave the flag of other nations. What other nation would allow that? What serious nation would allow for that? It doesn't exist. It's not a righteous thing. No, no. So those people should be removed. You hate our country. Why are you here? Oh, maybe because it's one of the greatest nations on earth. Despite how hard you are fighting to destroy it, still it remains one of the greatest countries on this planet. And that's why you just can't stop coming here. You hate us so much, but you just have to live here, don't you? You don't get to come in here with your liberal philosophies that destroyed the nation you arrived from and then vote to implement those policies which are now degrading our nation, and then you're going to cry when there's crime rates rampant in your city, when there's immigrants running sex rings of underage girls like we saw in Britain. You're gonna cry when all that stuff happens, but you're the one that fought to make it allowed. You're the one that fought to allow that to happen in society. So, no, we're not okay with it. No, we're not going to allow for it to continue. We're going to fight our asses off to stop you. And if that includes removing you, then we happily will. That's what people misunderstand about the importance of ice. It has a major It's major for the long term. It's major to get these people out before they have a bunch of kids who all will grow up here and hate here and vote to destroy here. Those people cannot be allowed to stay because their kids will take over the nation. And we're already seeing it. We're actively seeing it. It's a lot broader than, oh, well, sometimes illegals are violent, so we have to remove them. That is certainly one of the reasons, but it's also because of the way that they shift the culture here. It's not good. It's not good for any of us. So for that reason, we have to back ice until the very end. It's the only choice we really have. On that note, though, I am going to start wrapping up this show. Not a whole lot. Um, not a whole lot else to cover today. There was a major interview today with Joe Rogan and JD Vance, which it looks like a lot of the things I've been telling you guys about the Iran war and JD Vance's response to that were kind of confirmed. Exactly what I said would happen did happen over the interview based off what I've seen. I'm gonna watch the thing in its entirety today, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, though, since we are running out of time here tonight. Yeah, yeah. If you want a breakdown on Palantir and their backing of JD Vance and the implications the Iran war has on all of that, go watch yesterday's show or wait. I'm going to clip it as soon as possible into just a full length normal video. So yeah, but that was a major one. Should be very enjoyable. But on that note, I am going to end it. So again, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, greatly helps me out. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, here on YouTube. I think I have a TikTok. Yeah, but that'll do it. That'll do it. So long, peace out, and God bless y'all.